that we remember, along with the other things that Franklin Roosevelt did to save our democratic capitalistic economy without being too pure about it. So here's my contribution, talking about what Peter and what I got from Bobby Kennedy. Why not take a Bedford-Stuyvesant type model and apply it to South Bronx, East Harlem, Liberty City, Miami, Motown, my hometown of LA, and Watts, or East LA. You can pick the areas. There's no urban area in America that we're not familiar with in which you could not, he didn't use these words, but I've used them, green line those areas of our country that are in kind of a level of poverty, a level of unemployment, a level of welfare, a level of conditions unacceptable to a modern 21st century democratic society. And greenline it. Those areas that have been redlined for lack of credit, lack of capital, lack of opportunity, lack of access to education, greenline those areas and say, here's an area where we're going to use the federal programs and a national commitment to eliminate poverty, and I think by 10 years we'd have it down by more than half. Excuse me, I shouldn't be predicting things because that's an overreach. Let me finish by just saying greenlining, in my opinion, would be like an enterprise zone or a housing zone where the conditions, oh, by the way, the crisis, I agree with you, Alice, and you, Peter. The financial crisis in America today was not caused by Community Reinvestment Act. Let me just make it very, very clear. The Community Reinvestment Act, I didn't mean to say that for an applause line. I'm so sick of people in my party saying that making loans to low-income people was ipso facto the cause of this breakdown of our financial institutions. Nonsense. Fannie and Freddie, with all the mistakes, that did not cause this crisis. Making loans, getting capital into the hands of low-income people. Did we relax our standards, our lending standards too much? Were there mistakes being made? But that was not the cause. We can talk about that later, but I want to finish on this point. Greenlining, in my opinion, would not be trying to redistribute capital or redistribute wealth or redistribute income, and there's places for that. Let me say that as a Republican. There are places for that. I believe there has to be a safety net under which people should not be allowed to fall. You alluded to them, many of them. One other thing, though, that needs to be done is to try to create carrots, try to create incentives for people to put their capital, their surplus capital, at work in those areas I talked about that would allow for access to the type of capital investment, oxygen seed corn, that would allow people to start those businesses, to create those jobs. And I don't say this as some type of a rich guy, because my daddy was a truck driver who bought the truck and started a trucking company. I want to live in an America where you can become a waitress one day and own the restaurant, or be a truck driver and own a trucking company. And I think enterprise zones, whatever you would call it, empowerment zones, Bill Clinton put it into law. It's working in Harlem. I think it needs to be turbocharged, as it were, but I think we need to do it in every urban area of America in which there's poverty, unemployment, welfare, and despair. So a combination of the safety net under which people should not be allowed to fall, Peter talked about, and a ladder of opportunity upon which people can climb seems to me a 21st century Lincoln-like, excuse me, I'm a Republican, Franklin Roosevelt-like. I think Roosevelt would be looking, I think Bobby Kennedy, if he were here today, would be talking about how do we make the system work for all our people, not just for some. Thank you.